Welcome everybody to the second meeting of the Appropriations and Revenue Committee. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell, Senator Deneen, Senator Douglas,
Present.
Senator Funky Fromeyer, Senator Givens, Senator Neal, Senator Nemus, Senator Webb, Vice Chair Bledsoe, Chair McDaniel.
Here, very well. Having a quorum and duly constituted to conduct business, we'll proceed. We only have one item on the agenda today. That is Senate Bill 22 from Senator Whitney Westerfield. Would you like to proceed, sir?
Thank you, Chairman and members. Very simply, members, jurors aren't paid enough. The statute, which was last changed in 1978, pays jurors a whopping $5. We also throw in $7.50 for their expenses. For any of you on the committee or in the gallery here who have ever served on a jury, that doesn't cover what you have to pay that day. You may have to pay to park in our bigger cities. You may have to buy a meal that you could hardly get for $12.50, much less $7.50. I think it ought to be higher. Jury service is a civil service that we ask our citizens to do. If you're on if you're a registered voter, property tax payer and owner, or someone help me. What's the third one? Driver's license? Is that the? Thank you. If you're on one of those three lists, you're eligible to be a juror, but we don't pay them enough, and it has been changed. This bill sets it it eliminates the breakdown between compensation and expenses and just sets it at $125, which is still not enough. I actually had, I didn't realize this was still going on, but when I talked about the bill possibly getting hearing with folks back home, I had, and then one of you may have mentioned this to me on the floor yesterday, Senator Boswell, it may have been you, but the person I spoke with back at home said that they actually had to forfeit their juror pay. Whatever they got paid at the end of the service, they had to hand over to their employer for the work that they missed. So they don't even get to keep what they were paid, whatever little they were paid. I think that ought to change. Price tag on this bill is $17 million and change. That's the bill, Chairman. Sure.
Field, thanks for bringing this. One thing that I'm aware as a small business owner and also a leader at the Chamber of Commerce for many years, many employers offer to cover juror pay. So if I'm going to be out, then I will receive compensation for missing that day's work unless the difference of. So
Sure.
What I wasn't paid for my normal daily rate as a financial advisor with the jury pay, I would get paid by the employer. Do you have a sense for how that is supported across Kentucky through small, medium, large employers?
I would be speculating, Senator. I don't have any hard statistics on that. My very anecdotal, I mean, I've tried dozens of criminal cases in my time as a prosecutor, and I've talked to untold numbers of jurors who served on those juries and who've served in other juries since I left the prosecutor's office. I don't think that's the majority, but there are lots of employers that do that. I couldn't give you a concrete percentage.
Just by way of example, the example that you shared is actually an employer that is paying that person in their absence. They're still compensating them, so they expect that it's not
Sure.
going to enrich them necessarily for being a juror. So they expect that refunds some of what the employer already paid out of pocket, so that they're not getting doubly paid. So I do recognize that there may be a need, but I'm a little concerned about this large price tag, knowing that employers are compensating people that are out for jury duty.
I understand that. I'm okay with the double compensation, realizing that there are lots of employers that don't pay you for the day that you're serving on jurors or juries. It's a lot of effort to sit through a jury trial. You got to sit through orientation. You got to answer the questions. If you're anything like Amanda, my wife, you're a nervous wreck being in the courtroom to begin with, and then you're getting grilled by the attorneys for both sides of a case, of a dispute. not all of whom do a very good job at that. And then you've got judges that might ask you questions. And then you've got to sit and listen to facts, and there's a lot of responsibility there. And in criminal cases in particular, obviously, as you all know, you're not just dealing with money, you're dealing with someone's liberty, and in some cases, maybe even their life. I would entertain a number, if you thought the number was too high. I could entertain a number that's higher if you didn't think it was high enough. But I know $12.50 is pitiful. As I was just speaking with one of the judges here in the gallery today, and she's no different from the judges in my neck of the woods. Every judge I know, every prosecutor I know, every defense attorney I know, they all apologize to jurors for the pay so that they're not tagged for having been the ones that make them earn their $5. I think it's pitifully low.
Very well. All right, we're going to move along. Senator Bledsoe.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Senator. And I appreciate Senator Funky Frohmeier's perspective. I'll share an alternative one, which was I had 2 babies under 5, and I was a stay-at-home mom at that time, was not working, and paid a babysitter $15 an hour to watch my kids for 3 days because I didn't have daycare and didn't have support. And I was happy to do it. Well, I wasn't happy. I was
Compelled.
grateful to serve, yes. But there was a part of me that said I could do this, but many people can't.
That's right.
And that was just me putting out the expenses to make it work. Not to mention someone working a minimum wage job or someone who did not have that kind of capacity to pay. You're really put in a position where
No question.
it is an honor to serve and to provide that accountability. And I was happy to do it, but I think this is much needed.
And even at 125, Senator,
I still lost.
You still
Yeah.
would have lost
Yeah.
money in that very same fact pattern.
Yes, thank you.
Very good. Senator Boswell.
It was me yesterday. I talked to the senator about this.
Thank you.
My wife used to work for a government, and she did have to reimburse the government for them. She was paid, but since she reimbursed the jury pay. I do think there are a lot of government services that do provide this, but I think there probably are a lot of other employers throughout the state who may or may not do this. I think that the rate that we have now is way too low, but I'm a little concerned about the rate being 125 in one fell swoop.
Very good. Senator Neal.
Senator, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator, I appreciate the fact that you brought this. It's been brought from time to time, and this body has been unresponsive. And I don't project this as a negative to any particular individual or philosophy as it relates to compensation, more compensation. In fact, I think what you're asking for is a little meager, quite frankly, and I'm not trying to push you down on
No,
that.
I would agree with you.
Well, let me point out, and what I want to call to people's attention is that this is a fundamentally critical part of our criminal justice system. And when we ask individuals to come and do this, it's not just they're coming and they're being quote unquote underpaid to do this. They are actually putting themselves in a situation where they're engaging in something fundamental to our system, yet takes them out of their mode of living each day that they count on going forward. And I think that we ought to strengthen this part of the system, or at least show some, let them understand that we are cognizant of the challenges they have in dealing with this, and that we should adequately express that. And I think what you're doing here is a signal to that, and I think it's a modest signal. I want to reiterate that. And I also want to point out that over the years, we keep raising this issue up, and we do not respond appropriately. And I think this is a modest attempt, but I applaud your effort here.
Very good. We'd like to thank Senator Deneen.
The 125 figure, where did you come up with that number, or just is that arbitrary?
Thin air,
Is that-
Senator.
In what?
Thin air.
Thin air. Have you compared what we can pay our jurors here in the state of Kentucky to any surrounding state in
I have not.
comparison?
I have not, but that'd be a worthwhile thing. I'd also, I think that's a reasonable thing to do, but I'd also want to know when they last changed theirs. My guess is I'd be speculating, Senator, so I don't know. My assumption is that we're not the only state that has been derelict in keeping this rate current. But I think it's reasonable to look at what other states are doing.
Very good. Dr. Douglas.
Thank you, Senator, for bringing this. I just want to say that I agree with you in terms of the pay is entirely too low. I also want to say that to be honest, I haven't discussed this a lot with a number of my constituents, and I think before I want to vote on it, I think I want to spend a little bit more time talking to some of my constituents about how much and where we go, especially when we take a look at the overall fiscal explanation. So, but I do support you in this area, and this is something that has needed to be taken a look at for a long time. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Very good, Dr. Douglas. Thank you, sir. And certainly to the sponsor, it's something that he is championing, and I think the committee sees a lot of worthwhile need. Unfortunately, I can't recall a time when our own courts made this their number 1 or 2 budget priority. We've seen raises for everybody in their branch. We've seen courthouses, parking lots, et cetera, but we've never seen juror pay as one of the top priorities for that branch. So I'd be interested to hear them weigh in as well. Like I mentioned to the sponsor earlier, if this is addressed, we'll probably do it inside of the confines of the budget.
Certainly.
And appreciate his diligence on it, his raising it today, but will be an issue that we take up at that point in time. So at this time, we're not going to have a motion or a second on it, but do appreciate the ongoing dialogue, and I'm sure we'll keep it going over the next several weeks here.
Would the chair mind if I shared, not in here because I won't run through the list, but I'd like to distribute to the committee members the number that we're currently, I know how many days of jury service we're paying on an annual basis going back a number of years. In fiscal 23, it was about $1.8 million. But I'd like to share those stats with the committee if I can, Chairman.
We would love to have them, absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. To everyone who's here today, thank you very much for your time and your interest in the matter. We certainly do appreciate it.